Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday was one of the strangest days in Call of Duty that I have ever seen. Yesterday, if you didn't know, 2 new pieces of intel were added into Warzone, and upon completing these 2 pieces of intel, essentially a final cutscene played for Warzone. It wasn't a trailer released by Call of Duty. Infinity Ward, Activision, Treyarch did not tweet about it or anything like that. It was just kind of there in the game, and it's one of the biggest and most important cutscenes that I have seen for Warzone. On top of this, the intel kind of explains to us one of the biggest things and something I didn't even realize with the Warzone story thus far. So in today's video, we are going to break down all of this, and I'm going to explain the ending of Warzone. And you'll see why I say ending, because there's kind of a caveat to that. But essentially, what this section breaks down is what I'm going to call the Zakhaev portion of Warzone, and you'll see what I mean, but let's start at the beginning before we get to the end. So the beginning of this section of the story actually begins at the end of the campaign when we see Kate Laswell, Nikolai, and Captain Price talking about what is going on in Verdansk. We hear that there is a new character in town, of course Khalid al-Assad, who is working together with the Zakhaevs to kind of take over Verdansk. At this time, 2 teams decide to join together. The Coalition and the Allegiance join together to be now the Armistice. Now, this part of the story actually continued in Spec Ops, not in Warzone, and at this time you find out about many things. First of all, you find out about Khalid al-Assad, aka the Immortal Lion, and you also find out about Mr. Z, the man who is running the operation behind the scenes, smuggling weapons and other things like bombs to give to Khalid al-Assad, and to give to the Al-Qatala soldiers. Now, the weird part about this story is it didn't really pick up until Season 4, and that is when they started putting intel into Warzone. At this time, we started to learn about the airport attack, and this was basically telling us the story of the beginning of Warzone, what happened here, and you were led to believe that this attack on the airport is what stopped residents of Verdansk from leaving the area, and the war in Verdansk heated up at this point. At least, that is what we thought. Until later in Season 5, during the first piece of intel called The Lost Team, you actually found out that the attack on the airport was actually brought on by friendly soldiers. Armistice soldiers attacked the airport, and all of a sudden, this started to make no sense. However, in Season 4, we found out that Zakhaev, as you can see his logo is off to the left there on the note, was actually paying off some of Armistice soldiers to turn on each other to start this war between Armistice and pull the attention away from Zakhaev's. We're actually going to see more of that in the cutscene. Now, by the end of Season 5 is where we saw a piece of intel called New Threats, and by the end of it, we started to hear about Bunker Number 10 and the nuke that was residing inside. This nuke was threatening to be launched, and we found out through this exact piece of intel that power was actually being rerouted back to Bunker 10 to make this nuke viable. Now, as we know, Perseus is one of the main characters in Black Ops Cold War. He's the main bad guy in the campaign. Well, it was around halfway through Season 5 where we started to see his name for the first time. In the note that we see here, it says, finishing what father began. Adler, Perseus tried recruiting Imran Zakhaev, and this is the first time we hear those 2 names together, and it was interesting. Now, at this point, we didn't really know what was going on with Perseus, but in the Sins of Our Father pieces of intel, we found this one here, which on this board, which was found inside of Stadium, had a note written from Imran Zakhaev to his son, Victor. Victor, know that in you I see the future, of our name and of Russia herself. The burdens you will bear in life are too great to measure. Find strength in them, but know your limits and which lines you are ready to cross. In my days, violence was specific. We use stateless entities, some even branded as terrorists, to influence policies. Then I met Perseus and found my own line. It is because of this I can give you caution. Stay wise to your allies, as well as your enemies. And this is interesting because this statement makes it sound like Imran Zakhaev believed in one thing, that terrorists could be used to influence policy, until he met Perseus. And then Perseus changed his mind, and now they're working together, right? Well, you're gonna find out that that's not really the case, but we'll get into that in a minute. Going into these final two pieces of intel here, first of all, if you want to know the locations of them, I actually uploaded a live stream highlight video to my second channel that highlights all of the location where all of these were. It's me finding them inside the live stream yesterday. So if you want to find all the locations, I will link that video down in the description. It's on my second channel, which is also linked down in the description. But as far as going into this final piece of intel, what we have here is called the War Room. And in the second to last piece of intel, essentially you are searching for the abort codes for bunker number 10, because as we know, with the new threats intel from season 5, this missile is now armed. So going into this, you find the abort codes of 6157, and at the very end, Nikolai goes to the top of the BCH-4 building downtown to transmit the codes to Captain Price, so Captain Price can stop the nuke. And this is when we get the cutscene.
Bravo 6 degrees. Go green.
Copy, actual. Demon teams have cordoned off the silo.
Guys, report.
At the Tower Ghost. We hacked Zakhaev's comms. He's up. Stand by.
Our victory today will be decisive. Together, we put a knife to the neck of history. It's time now for the final cut.
All stations be advised. Zakhaev's lighting the fuse. We don't have much time. Farah, where are you?
At the entry with Alex, creating a diversion.
Guards are coming our way now, actual.
Keep them busy.
They came to Verdansk to stop us, but they couldn't resist fighting each other. This war is 50 years in the making. No more treaties, no more diplomacy. These weapons will no longer lie dormant. Your work is not in vain, Father. Show yourself. You're wasting your...
Victor.
Captain Price, I am not surprised.
You're a dead man, Zakhaev.
I started a war. Killing me won't stop it.
Oh, I won't kill you. But the fool will.
Wait.
All stations. Zakhaev is dead, but the missile is hot. Nick, I need the codes now.
Copy. Use context flow.
6,
1,
1,
5.
5. Say again. Nick. Say again, I've lost you, Nick. Bloody hell, Nick, the last digit.
7. 1, 5, 7.
What call signs this net? Launch is terminated. Mission accomplished.
So here's the thing. This cutscene would make a lot of sense if it ended right there. They beat Zakhaev, they stopped the nuke from going off, and thus is the end of the war in Verdansk. However, the cutscene doesn't end there. It keeps on going.
This isn't over. Not by a long shot.
Mactavish to actual.
So, what's your position?
Have a click off the coast. Things are really heating up out here.
Hold tight. We're moving your way. On me.
So for the most part, I think that cutscene is pretty self-explanatory. At the beginning, we see where all of the people, the operators who have been added in throughout the seasons are. We have Ghost and Gaz up at the top of ATC. We've got Nikolai at the top of BCH4 sending the signals. We hear from Farah, we hear from Griggs, and all of them are working to give these codes to Captain Price and stop the nuke launch. I think that's pretty cool that we get to see all of the characters all coming together. After this, we see Viktor Zakhaev kind of tipping his hat to his father and saying, "I finally completed this for you, father," before Captain Price comes in, shoots him, and throws him over the edge, and seemingly kills him. Now, the general rule that we go by on this channel is that if you don't see a character die, they're probably not dead. The fact that they threw him off the ledge kind of makes me think that they're leaving it up to us to maybe think that he possibly survived, but I guess we'll have to wait to see for that. Now, after Price goes on to say mission accomplished and you think everything is over, it zooms out to the dam where we see all of the Task Force 141 characters standing there, and we hear a new character say this.
Mactavish to actual.
So, what's your position?
Have a click off the coast. Things are really heating up out here.
Hold tight. We're moving your way.
So at this point, we get to hear from Soap for the very first time. We know that Soap Mactavish is coming back, and we know that he's half a click off the coast of Verdansk, and we know he's finally joining the crew. So yes, Soap Mactavish is back. Now, the question is when is he coming? There's essentially two options. Either he gets added in the next season, which would be very, very strange because we're currently on Black Ops Cold War, or this is actually a teaser for the next Modern Warfare game, which would be an incredibly strange way of doing this at a very odd time. But hey, like I said at the beginning of the video, this cutscene came out at a very odd time. Now, there are rumors of new guns being added to the game, so potentially Modern Warfare will get another character within a bundle, which very well could be Soap. At this point, though, all we know is he's coming to Verdansk. That's what we know as of right now. All right, now for the fun part, now for the confusing part. I know, you probably thought that Soap was the fun part. Nope, Soap is not the fun part. Now, you may be wondering, how is the story of Verdansk continuing if we've taken care of Zakhaev? Well, in my eyes, there are two ways that they can continue this story. The first of which is the obvious one. Well, Khalid al-Assad is still alive, and he is the one in charge of the Al-Qatala army, causing this war on Verdansk. So, as we saw at the end of the game, Khalid al-Assad could very well be the person pushing this war forward. However, there's another theory that I like a whole lot more. So where things get really interesting is with the outside influence set of intel. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but in the final one is where things really get interesting. First of all, the sticky note that is on there, we find out that the nuke that Zakhaev was launching was actually aimed at the White House, which is pretty insane. That's what those coordinates lead to. But on top of this, it goes into some background on some Black Ops Cold War stuff. So first of all, the background, it says, Nova was developed under Dr. Friedrich Steiner, German. Dr. Steiner defected to the USSR at the end of World War II. His work was allowed to continue in secret as tensions with the West increased. Okay, so cool. So we hear a little bit background of the Nova 6 gas. After this, it says, Verdansk. After considerations, Moscow has agreed to suspend operations in Verdansk. Reports from operatives on the ground suggest Perseus is after control of the facility. In response, Imran Zakhaev sealed the entrance and exits to prevent Perseus from acquiring weapons/Nova gas. Now, it then goes on to explain that the gas that we had here in Verdansk wasn't Nova 6, but rather Nova 4 gas. Now, before this, I'd never heard of Nova 4 gas, but basically it's like a prototype of the Nova 6 gas. If you know anything more about that, let me know down in the comments. I couldn't find much information on it. But what this note tells us is that Imran Zakhaev was not working for Perseus. In fact, Imran Zakhaev did not like Perseus. They weren't even friends. They weren't even working together. In fact, Imran Zakhaev was working for Russia, and when they found out that Perseus wanted control of the weapons, they shut down the program. And that's why everything was closed off inside of these bunkers with codes, was so Perseus couldn't get after them. Now, in Black Ops Cold War, this puts the KGB mission into a whole new light. In this mission, I originally assumed that Imran Zakhaev was here. He was working inside the KGB headquarters for Perseus, when in reality, he was literally working for the Russian government and for the KGB against Perseus, which totally changes my view on that mission and changes things up altogether. So, if we have a look back at those notes again, where it says Perseus tried recruiting Imran Zakhaev, he tried, but he failed. In that big note that we read before, he found out that Imran Zakhaev believed that he could use the people in the West to push forward policy within Russia. But then he met Perseus and found out something different, that the allies on his side, like Perseus, could actually be evil. Imran Zakhaev and Perseus were not working together. In fact, they were working against each other. So, another option as to what could be happening is we found out at the end of Black Ops Cold War that Perseus is not just a person, it is an organization of many people. And who could be continuing the attack in Verdansk now that the Zakhaevs are out of the picture? Well, it could very well be Perseus. And with Treyarch kind of taking over Warzone, this could be what is happening in the next little while. We could have a Perseus takeover in Verdansk. So our two options are Khalid al-Assad or Perseus are continuing this attack. We don't know who is yet, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless. So as I said earlier, this is essentially the end of the Zakhaev storyline. Imran Zakhaev is dead. He died much, much earlier, and now Viktor Zakhaev, his son, is also dead, thanks to Captain Price. And this leads us to our next chapter in Verdansk. Is it going to be Khalid al-Assad leading the way, or is Perseus going to put his head in to the fight, and we're going to see a whole nother level of destruction within Verdansk? We're going to have to wait and see, but it's definitely going to be interesting. And as we find out more, of course, I'll keep you updated. But as far as the Zakhaev storyline goes, this is the end. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the ending explained of Warzone. If you did, it's always appreciated if you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, like what you see here, like these types of story videos, be sure to hit that like button. It shows me that you enjoy them and want to see more like it. And also, on top of that, be sure to subscribe. It's the best way to stay up to date on all of my story videos. And we're getting so close to 1 million subscribers, and I would love to hit that before the end of the year. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. But as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.